and we are here on the Zero Empty Spaces podcast, episode 26. It's about half of the resident artists of our 18th Affordable Artist Studio location in Rosemary Square district of Sarasota. And I'll give these folks an opportunity to introduce themselves in a moment. But if you didn't know about Zero Empty Spaces, we started an initiative as arts advocates, myself, Evan Snow, and my partner, Mr. Andrew Martineau, to activate vacant commercial retail storefront spaces to make affordable artist studios so artists like them can have a safe, affordable space to create in outside of their home and create a win-win-win scenario for the artists, for the property owners and landlords, and for the community. We'll tell you a little bit more about that. But before we get started, why don't we tell these folks who's sitting here today, starting over here.
My name is Lisa Difranza, and I'm really excited to be at Zero Empty Spaces.
Amen.
My name is Kathleen Kelly, and I'm only a year in Sarasota. It's a dream come true.
My name is Craig Palmer, and I'm an abstract painter here in Sarasota.
My name is Barbara Gerdeman, and I'm a painter, photographer, former muralist, and I work part-time for Art Center Sarasota.
My name is Traci Kegerreis. I've been here about 17 years, and Barbara was the one that told me about this.
How about that?
Last minute.
What kind of work do you make?
I do mixed media, collage, and acrylic, and some assemblage work.
And I'm Deena King. I've lived in Sarasota for a year in the Midwest.
And what kind of work do you do?
I'm abstract painter.
And I didn't get to mention, what kind of work do you do?
I do, it's ever unfolding. I did a series of gouache paintings. Now I'm working on some larger acrylic paintings. I have a background as a theater director, so I'm sort of an interdisciplinary artist.
Okay. And what kind of work do you do? Sorry I left you out there.
Sure, that's okay. I do representational work inspired by the magnificence of the outdoors. Sometimes I work outdoors, but a lot of times I work from photographs I've taken, and I also do murals.
Oh, phenomenal. Okay. Well, the point of the podcast is to connect you, the viewer, with the artists that make the program what it is. And we're very glad as arts advocates to be supporting artists now, not just in South Florida, in Broward County, where I'm very proud to be born and raised from, but even on the west coast of Florida, here in Sarasota. So to help you get a better understanding and appreciation for the resident artists in the space, I'm going to have these folks tell us a little bit about how they get started in the arts. Starting
Second time now.
with Deena.
How I got started in the arts? A professor in college. I was a marketing major, and I took an art class, and she told me she didn't understand why I wasn't an art major. So I took her advice and I majored in art, and that's how I became an artist.
And here we are.
And here we are.
Awesome.
I've always done art. I moved around a lot when I was young, so that always traveled well. So I just always knew I wanted to be an artist, and against my parents' wishes, majored in art and just never really stopped. And I would do it whether I was doing it professionally or not. So it's just something I feel like I always have to be doing, or I'm really quite nasty. So.
We don't want you to be nasty, so here
You
we
won't
are.
like her when she's not doing art.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I got started kind of like when I was 4 by drawing on the walls of my parents' home. And so when I became a muralist for profession, I used to tell people that I now got paid to do the things I used to get in trouble for as a child. And my parents were always supportive. They, pushed me. They knew kind of like, oh, she's going to go to art school. As a typical defiant teenager, I wanted to be everything other than an artist until I finally went to art school. Told them I wanted to be a truck driver. I wanted to be a veterinarian, but then I did get some bad advice from a guidance counselor and got a commercial art degree because I was told that was the only way you could make a living as an artist. And I did that for like a year and a half after I graduated, and then started freelancing, and now I'm doing this. So,
Here we are.
yeah.
Awesome.
I started off as an artist. I went to Parsons School of Design and graduated with a degree in illustration. And I kind of a career of different creative professions. I was a graphic designer, then I became a copywriter in New York City, wrote television, radio commercials, some big companies. And then I had my own ad agency, design firm for about 20 years. And I've always painted portraits. I've been a realist painter my whole life. I've painted portraits and landscapes and still lifes. And then COVID hit, and it actually offered me an opportunity to experiment with art. And I experimented with abstract painting, and for the first time in my life I felt like a true artist, and I've embraced it, and I just love painting abstracts.
Awesome.
I've always been an artist. I graduated with a bachelor's degree in illustration and was published right out of college as an author-illustrator of children's books. And then after a 10-year stint at McGraw-Hill as an illustrator doing educational software, I went on for a master's degree in painting at the Hartford Art School. And then I launched an art school, a private one, where I had about 200 students a month year-round. And then I had another studio in 2017 and it flooded. It put me out of business. And so this is my starting fresh. Thanks.
Amen.
Well, I guess I've always been an artist too. I think since I popped out of the womb, because I grew up in a family of painters. Both my parents painted and taught painting, and my dad had a design company in Manhattan for years. So, you know, at home, that was what we did. We had stuff around and we painted and drew and made things all the time. However, out of a sense probably of defiance, I ended up studying theater, not visual art. My sister was the visual artist, and I went off my way doing theater and directing theater, also a very visual art form. But it's always been kind of a balance between visual and performing arts in my life. And I went on to get a master's degree in theology and art, because I've also always been interested in the way the arts inform the spirit and are affected by sort of things you can't see or touch, yet they are so visual or they're so tactile. So that interests me. And then when COVID hit, I was cultural curator at Art Ovation Hotel right here in Sarasota, and I lost my job. And I kind of went back to what I had done all my life just personally, and I started to process what was going on with COVID through visual art. And so I started by just doing a sketch one day and then the next day, and I started posting them on social media. And I ended up doing 365 paintings in 365 days, which really got me sort of headlong back into visual arts and made me realize that I had really been missing this thing that had been traveling with me my whole life. So it's been a really interesting year and a half or 2 years or whatever it's been on that journey.
Amen.
Yeah.
Well, instead of us just telling you about their art, we're actually going to take the camera and show you a little bit of their studios and a little bit of their works. So hang tight.
So I'm Lisa Difranza, and when COVID hit, as I said in the larger interview, I started painting at home, and just to process what was going on and communicate with the outside world when we were all in quarantine, I started doing a sketch a day. I didn't really know how long that would last or how long we would be in quarantine. Nobody did. But they turned into sort of missives, I guess, to put out into the world, just processing. So these are some of those. You can see, like this one, Mixed Signals, was right at the beginning of the pandemic when we didn't know if we should wear a mask, not wear a mask, what was going on. And actually, we're kind of back there now. And I live near the Manatee River, so you can see also a lot of river images. And it really wasn't until I was painting every day that I started to realize how the river changed every day and the subtleties of the change in weather patterns and the rhythms of the river. And that was one of the great outcomes about just this daily practice of painting.
Phenomenal. Thank you.
One thing I discovered was the process of printmaking. So I'm working with a really creative art printer in Sarasota to make pigment-based prints. So some of the small pieces we transformed into larger, really nice quality prints, and that's been really exciting. But the Zero Empty Space studio has allowed me to actually paint bigger. I have room to spread out. So here's an example of a painting I just finished, literally today. And it's 24 by 48 inches, so it's very exciting to me to sort of explode onto larger canvases.
Hi, I'm Barbara Gerdeman. This is my studio space here at Zero Empty Spaces, Sarasota. And this is the stuff that I've been working on lately. You'll see some of my photography, but my latest thing was actually inspired by this big piece of wood that you see here that's going to be transformed. At the art center where I also work, we had some vandalism and someone threw a rock through our glass door. No. And so we had to put wood up, and our executive director asked me if I would paint a mural on it. So that's how this kind of started. And then it expanded and it became these little paintings and this stuff, and I have designs to make more, and I've started making tote bags from them, and they're just bright and happy and colorful, which is exactly what I need in my life right now. And I'm trying to put some words on them, like one word on some of the ones that are encouraging words, uplifting things that will hopefully people will feel that when they look at it and feel encouraged and uplifted and happy. So, and then I have my random other things that I'm working on. Watermelon, and this guy here, he's been around for a long time, and I'm trying to transform it into something. It may just get gessoed over and become something entirely different, but we'll see what happens. And then my photography. I love doing photography. I actually have some more photography on one of the communal walls up there, so this has been a great space. And then my little jewelry trinkets that have been around, I have those. Actually sold quite a few of those here in this space.
Art is healthy for children and other living things.
Yes. It's a tribute to an old 70s poster that said war is not healthy for children and other living things. And my parents used to have that hanging in our house, and I remembered it. And so I just changed it up a little bit to make it something uplifting about art.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, hi, I'm Deena King. This is my space at Zero Empty Spaces. I'm mostly an abstract artist, but I do some collaging with vintage paper, and some is very realistic. I think when I do watercolor, which is like what this is, I'm very realistic. If I'm working with acrylic, I'm abstract. So this is my latest piece. It's called Ballad of Conspiracy. And it took a wild ride. I started it before I went on vacation, and then when I came back, I kind of lost the direction I was going in. So it's totally different than how I envisioned it from the beginning. I have kind of a Jackson Pollock style, so I like to run and drip a lot of my artwork. And this is one that's in the making. This one's not done yet. So that's how my style of painting is. Very abstract, and actually really emotional, because it's just kind of like whatever I'm feeling that day. I start with a basic idea, but what comes out is just what I'm feeling or what's going on in my mind at the moment.
I actually really like this one.
Oh, thank you.
I've been following along as it unfolds, and
it was I was in frustration, so I just slapped these on with the brush, and then when I stepped back, I was like, oh, those are ravens, crows, something flying, and very Hitchcock-like. So I was frustrated when I did this, so it might have came out on the piece, but
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, so my name is Craig Palmer, and this is my artist studio. So I've been an abstract artist for literally about 6 months. So my entire life I've been a portrait artist, painted realism, and I just started painting abstracts, and it was a big mental block. I've tried to paint abstracts my whole life, and I've had real difficulty doing it. But through COVID, I got to experiment, and I got to do a lot of different stuff and take some time to really work at it. And I figured out something very basic for me. I just took the basic painting principles that I use in portraiture, which are painting principles for all art, really. It's like edges, shapes, textures, tones, values, composition. And I applied that to abstract art. So this collection that I've created is my first abstract collection. It's inspired, I was living in Boulder, Colorado, and I used to hike the Rocky Mountains quite a bit during COVID. And so these are taken, the textures and the colors and visual representations from nature, and it kind of met a need for me. There's a bit of realism to it in my mind's eye, and I just worked on the colors, the textures, and that, and kind of the just organic. These things just come out. I very rarely start off with an image in mind of what I'm going to do. I'll take the canvas. I'll lay it on a table. I might sketch it out first. I might just start slapping paint on, and it's just a process that evolves for me. I'll look at the shapes of the paint on the canvas, the lines, what colors. I might work on a color palette. So I really like working with the color palette. So I will have kind of a color palette concept, but that may change through the course of the painting. I may come off and say I'm going to work on complementary colors. I'm going to work on purples and yellows. And then somehow the thing turns into a whole other primary palette or something like that. So all the work you see here has been produced really since February or March, and most of it has been produced since I've been in the Zero Empty Spaces space. So like I said earlier, the opportunity to have a place to work for me, and I did the same thing as some of the other artists. I worked very small. I do these pet portraits, and I still do pet portraits, but these are 8x8 pet portraits, and that was kind of the extent of my. I didn't work much bigger too often, but now when I'm doing abstracts, I feel so much freer. I'm using brushes, I'm using spatulas, I'm using plastic wrap, I'm using cardboard. I feel like I'm, in a sense, going back to crafting what I did when I was a little kid, and I am having more fun painting now. I'm just using anything at my disposal to create marks on a canvas, and I'm just having a great time, and Zero Empty Spaces has allowed me the opportunity to do that, and I'm so grateful for that.
Awesome. Grateful to have you.
Hi everybody, my name's Kathleen Kelly and I'm here at Zero Empty Spaces, Sarasota. Welcome. This is my studio, my art studio. This is a painting I'm currently working on. It's inspired by some fine art photography that I've done. I actually stood in this storm, and now I'm bringing it to life on canvas. A lot of these other paintings were also created, inspired locally, and including, this is like the Ringling Causeway Bridge right here, and in this area there's like a little city park under there. It's just a very exciting place to be.
Lovely.
My work is focused on sunlight and rays of light, and how in the retina of my eye I can't really control the color. It really is a kind of like a revolution of light happening in my eyes when I paint, and that's only happened since I've come to Florida, so it's exciting to be here.
I love the color, I love the light, I love the vibrancy. I love your addition to the studio here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm Traci Kegerreis here at the Sarasota Zero Empty Spaces. This is my studio gallery. My work is very different. One reason why I'm here is to kind of hone in on what I want to do for a body of work. So, I think because I lived on a little island for 11 years, I didn't have there were no art stores, not a stoplight, nothing. So I used kind of what I had at hand. So thanks to Craig, my studio mate, he gave me this discovery. That's why I started doing the assemblage work, because I think that's how that started, just by finding things on hand, old leather from furniture, twigs and stuff that I found in nature, license plates, stuff like that. But when I moved here, I was able to say, oh, I want to do watercolor, oh, I want to discover acrylics, mosaics. I had all this stuff at my fingertips. So, I mean, to my detriment, probably, I started doing pastels and watercolor and really getting involved in lots of different mediums. So now that it's been 17 years, I'm going to start honing in on what I think I want to do, which has a mixed media content still, but more, I think I'm going to be doing more collage work, which this is all torn paper, and acrylic. So I think that's where I'm going. I just did this in the studio. This is my first completed piece I did here, which was so great because I had other artists to critique me. I actually painted it upside down and then hung it this way, which is the right side, but I just had such a hard time painting it. So yeah, just getting the advice and kind of guidance of the other artists here has really helped me.
Lovely. Love your work.
Thank you.
So one of the questions we always like to ask, and it's always a different answer from everybody, is what do you guys like the most about having a studio to create in outside of your house? Starting with Mr. Palmer.
Well, there's in Sarasota, and I think this is true in a lot of cities, there is no availability of affordable space for artists to work. So the opportunity to have a full-fledged studio with other artists has been huge for me. It's done the basic thing of freeing up a bedroom in my home and half of my garage, which has made my wife extremely happy. But it also gives me an opportunity to, I'm a full-time artist. I've gone over, through COVID, I've become a full-time artist. Transformed into a full-time artist. And this is an opportunity for me to treat being a full-time artist like a job. I come in early in the morning, as early as I can, and I work as late as I can. And there's two things I love about being here is I've been more productive than I've ever been in my life as an artist. I've produced more work. And the vibe of working with other artists, and everybody here is so talented. And it's great energy. Everybody shares information. We share techniques. We share opinions on each other's work. The vibe of working with other artists has just been terrific. So I just love the opportunity you guys have given us here.
Amen. And we'll go this way. What do you like about having a studio outside your house?
It's a critical point of interacting with the public. I feel that when people can come into a space and see artists working, it opens like a portal into an unknown reality, really. And with the way we have it designed, it's a free, you can move freely through the space, and so people get drawn to different types of work, and then they can tangent right into that. It may connect with something already in their life. For me personally, after my studio flooded, I was working out of the back of my car for 2 years, and then when I moved here, I discovered that there really was no space in Sarasota. I designed my home, my apartment, so that you walked in and I didn't have a living room, I just had a creative space. And so this really allowed me to create a profession. I love having a professional space because I have clients, and I really can't invite a client into my home space. It's just doesn't feel right. So I have more clients, and I have more of an income when I'm in a professional space.
Awesome. I'm glad to support you with that.
Thank you.
Well, I love it because, well, first of all, I was painting in the back of my kitchen, so what was going on for the past year and a half is I have been painting really, really small, which I've discovered is really a very interesting thing. However, I was bursting to be able to paint larger and to just have some space to move. So this has given me an opportunity to do that, to try and experiment with just larger scale work. And also, as everybody says, the community of artists is just a very wonderful, energizing thing. I work and balance work and coming into the studio. So it allows me to kind of shed whatever's on my mind from the outside world and just enter the zone here. And I love that. And it's a lot of fun to have people wander through too. And very interesting to hear people's perspectives and both artists and public perspectives on the art. So it's great. Couldn't be better.
Awesome. Love to hear that.
Well, for me, So there's two things I love about Zero Empty Spaces. One is I was working out of my garage, and in Florida it's hot.
Ooh, yeah.
And I had to move the cars out just to set up my table and work, and then put it all away, move the cars back in every day. So I didn't work on that much art because of the process I had to go through. It was hard to get into the mindset of wanting to paint. Second reason is being new to the area. No one knows who I am here. So to be out in the public, have people see me work, they get to know who Deena King, the artist, is in a new area.
Awesome. Glad to support you with that.
Thank you.
Well, for me, I have 2 rooms in my house that are dedicated to art, and it hasn't changed yet. I'm working on it. But it's nice to be able to come in. I mean, the main reason why I want to do this, because at 50 I don't have a solid body of work. I'm all over the place because I'm always like, oh, I want to learn that, I want to learn that, I want to incorporate that in so much. And in my house, everything, I can't see everything together. I don't take it seriously because I don't have a serious space. And I feel like when you have a gallery, you're not working in your gallery. So you're in your gallery, you're trying to sell it. It's a stressful situation. You're not working, you're not producing. Then you go home and you're washing the dog, you're, answering your phone, you're paying your tax, whatever you're doing, and you're not producing. So this is the perfect combination of both. So, and I love the people. It's just so great. It's nice to be around like-minded people because you go home and your husband and your kids aren't critiquing your work, or they're tripping over your canvases.
You don't want to hear about it.
Yeah, I mean they're wonderful and they do, but it's just such an awesome atmosphere.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's
Well,
great. It's cool.
For me, I would say that, I did the murals and I did decorative painting and stuff for over 30 years. And I kind of lost sight a little bit of who I was as an artist because I was mostly doing what other people wanted me to do. Every once in a while I would get a client who would give me some license to kind of like, what do you think, do what you want. But it was mostly kind of directed by what they wanted. And so I kind of, like I said, lost myself, and then 2019 was horrible. I lost both of my parents within 6 weeks of each other, and then we went from that into dealing with all of the things associated with that. And then COVID hit, and 2020, I did nothing. I produced nothing. I was just kind of spiraling, like I didn't know what to do. And being here has revitalized me and giving me the desire to make art again. And I'm kind of trying to find myself, like Tracy. I don't really have like a specific body of work, but I'm searching for that. And this space gives me the opportunity to do that and to find inspiration and to experiment with things and kind of find my new direction and discover myself as an artist. So.
Awesome. Well, we're certainly glad to support all of you with all of your creative passions, creative outlets, professions, different strokes for different folks. Some artists just want a space to be able to create in outside of their house, and some folks need a space to create in to pursue their profession and continue to create bodies of works that there's only so many rooms in the house to occupy, or garages, or closets, or tables. And it's interesting how from the east coast of Florida to the west coast of Florida, situations are generally the same. People are fighting over the kitchen table, or I need to move the car out of the garage so I can create. But by creating these spaces from a placemaking perspective, it's such a beautiful win-win-win. It supports, from the commercial real estate and the property perspective, the neighboring businesses and the tenants. It supports the walkability. Nobody wants to go to these dark, blighted corners of shopping centers or plazas. And when these formerly vacant spaces are now activated with light, color, and vibrancy, it does support the neighboring coffee shop or boutique or salon and helps keep people in these shopping centers longer, which we're glad to do. And we're super glad from the artist's perspective to provide you guys the perk and the added benefit of the walk-in traffic people coming and being able to discover local artists, because not everybody stumbles into artist studios. They're generally in, you know, warehouse districts or industrial warehouse spaces, not, you know, commercial retail storefront spaces. So we're really glad to be here. We're really glad to be in Sarasota, in this beautiful Rosemary Square district here. We are ahead of our grand opening here on Tuesday, August the 3rd. We won't have a chance to edit and post this before the grand opening, but we did want to take an opportunity to connect and engage you with some of the very talented artists that are here occupying the space. And if you would like to connect and engage with them, we're going to have them share their social medias orally, and we'll drop them in the comments and all that later. So for the sake of the Instagrams, which seems to be pretty popular nowadays, what is your Instagrams?
My Instagram's at Lisa Difranza, LISADIFRANZA.
Mine is Sun Sea Originals LLC.
And mine is at Craig Palmer Art.
I have two. I have Creative Liberties FL, and I have B. Gerdeman, GERDEMAN.
Mine is art 2 oranges, the number 2. So art number 2 oranges.
And mine is Kingdom 530, Kingdom spelled KINGDM.
Awesome. So if you saw something you liked in their studios, if you see something on our social medias, on their social medias, don't hesitate to reach out, connect, engage. They're available for commissions. Some of them are available for lessons and classes. If you're in the Sarasota area, right here at 1454 Boulevard of the Arts, we're really appreciative of the opportunity. Red Property Management Group and everybody else involved that helped make this space possible. We encourage you to stop by, connect, engage, support your local artists in the community so that they can continue pursuing their craft, their passion, their creative outlet, or their profession. Nobody wants to live in a community devoid of color, life, and art. And artists really do make communities, especially like Sarasota, which does have a lot of art, but generally I found it's in the performing arts and the ballet and the opera, but nobody wants to live in a community where there's no art. So we're glad to support you guys and create this space here, and we look forward, if you're joining us, to having you join us for this grand opening in a couple minutes here. Cheers.
Thanks, Em.